Alright, so it's Cat Stanley Space Demon coming at you again. And today I want to talk about the time Richie Sambora failed his audition for Kiss. Okay, so back in 1982, following the departure of lead guitarist Ace Frehley, Kiss began holding auditions for a new lead guitarist as they were getting ready to head into the studio for their latest album, Creatures of the Night. And they brought in a bunch of guys, including Steve Ferris from Mr. Mister of Broken Wings fame. Blues guitarist Robin Ford even came in to audition. Steve Hunter, the Decatur Gator, who played with Mitch Ryder, Lou Reed, and Alice Cooper, came in and auditioned. And of course, there was even famously Eddie Van Halen came in. He was unhappy in his band, Van Halen, at the time. He turned up thinking about maybe joining Kiss. Of course, it didn't happen. But another guy who turned up, New Jersey guitarist by the name of Richie Sambora, flew all the way across country from New Jersey to audition for the band Kiss. Now, apparently, this was before he had joined Bon Jovi, and he was looking to hook up with a rock and roll outfit, so he came all the way out to audition for Kiss. Paul Stanley would say in his 2014 memoir, Face the Music, that Sambora wasn't quite the consummate professional, the proficient guitarist he would become later on with the Bon Jovi, the multi-platinum, mega-platinum selling pop metal band who dominated the top 40 in the late 80s into the early 90s. Wasn't quite that guy, and he didn't quite have what it took to be a part of Kiss. But Paul Stanley would also have this to say about that audition in that 2014 memoir, Face the Music. Here's what he said. He said, it's funny, but years later I would hear him say he hadn't really wanted the job because he wanted to be in something more blues-based. First of all, it's hard to imagine that he flew to California to audition for Kiss just because he liked airplane food. Paul's a funny guy. He always works his jokes into his stuff, but that's pretty funny. He goes on to say, also, Bon Jovi's done a lot of great things, but they don't sit next to Howlin' Wolf in my record collection. What do you think? When you think of blues men, do you think of Muddy Waters? Do you think of Elmore James, Robert Johnson, and John Bon Jovi? I mean, I gotta agree with Paul Stanley here. I don't know what the hell Richie Sambora was talking about. Kiss weren't blues-based enough, but he goes on to join a pop band, a hair band, a pretty boy band. Is that dirty blues for you? Your love is like bad medicine? I don't know. But, yeah, in this instance, I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with Paul 100%. I think Richie Sambora, maybe ex post facto, got a bit of an ego on his shoulders, had all that success with the Bon Jovi in the pop band, and then all of a sudden he thinks he's the king shit, so he's going to go ahead and slag off Kiss back in the day, saying it was something he didn't want to be a part of. I was never a fan of Bon Jovi to begin with. Living on a Prayer, that stupid talk box thing, I thought was annoying. I thought they were too pretty. I talked about a video earlier. I envisioned a fight between Paul Stanley and Michael Bolton. It was a joke. But, I kind of think about Paul Stanley and John Bon Jovi. I think Paul might kick his ass. But, obviously I'm kidding. I think John and Paul actually get along pretty well, because Bon Jovi had actually opened up for Kiss back in 1984 on the heels of their first album. And actually, Paul Stanley had this to say in his memoir about Bon Jovi. He talked about the track record they had with all the opening acts who'd opened for Kiss back in the day and had big success, like Bob Seger, John Mellencamp, Tom Petty, AC/DC, Rush. But he went on to say this about Bon Jovi. He said, John Bon Jovi was a smart guy and always sat with us at the hotel bar and asked questions about how various production expenses broke down. He was intent on getting as much information as possible, and he asked business questions. Now, I guess at the end of the tour, Bon Jovi's manager at the time, Doc McGee, of course, years before he would hook up with Kiss, for the reunion tour. McGee had approached him at the end of that tour and asked him if he'd be willing to write songs with Bon Jovi for Bon Jovi's next album. And Paul Stanley referred him to Desmond Child. And of course, Desmond Child went on to co-write with Bon Jovi on the Slippery When Wet album. And it was huge. But, so yeah, John and Paul get along well. You know, that was just a joke. But Richie Sambora, he was one of the things about Bon Jovi that I actually kind of liked. Like I said, you know, never was a big fan. And I got nothing against pop music. In fact, I rather enjoy a good pop song every now and again. And, you know, the only song from Bon Jovi I really actually liked, I thought Wanted Dead or Alive was a great song. But everything else, I could take it or leave it, but Richie Sambora, you know, I think he got a big ego on his shoulders and took the opportunity to say, hey, I never wanted to be in your stupid band anyways. I was holding out for Bon Jovi, and look at how many records we sold. We outsold you. But that's the video. As always, I hope you dug it, man, and we'll see you next time.
Who's here?